Jai Shri Ram. Some legal maxims which we all should know. A maxim is a proverb. Extreme caution does no harm. Extreme caution does no harm. Acts indicate the intention. Acts indicate the intention. An act done against my will is not my act. The act does not make the performer of it a criminal unless there is criminal intention. So, criminal intention is absolutely important. An alibi, ALIBI, means an excuse that the person was somewhere else when that crime occurred. Amicus curiae, a friend of the court, with the intention of defaming, animo defamandi, Latin words. Sometimes these Latin phrases are also important. One approbating cannot reprobate. Approbans non reprobate. Well, approbate is praise and reprobate is condemn. So you cannot praise and condemn at different times. You cannot contradict yourself. The laws permit arms to be used against the armed or to resist violence by violence. No man shall be condemned unheard. No one should be condemned unheard. That means everyone has the right to be heard. An unusual circumstance or event. Sometimes, if you can prove that it's an unusual circumstance or event, that works in your favor. A proximate but not an immediate cause is also important. Caveat emptor, let a purchaser beware. This is a very important one. Reason is the soul of the law. Reason is the soul of the law, and when the reason of any particular law ceases, so does the law itself. So, there are so many laws which seem irrational now. Therefore, they can be revoked, and we should plead that they should be cancelled, rescinded. No one suffers or is punished for his thought. You cannot be punished for your thought. Common error sometimes passes current as law. Custom or usage is the best interpreter of laws. Custom or usage is the best interpreter of laws. Credence should be given to one skilled in his peculiar profession. That's understandable. He is free from fault who knows but cannot prevent. He is free from fault who knows but cannot prevent. Gross fault is equivalent to bad intention or fraud. Gross fault is equal to bad intention. The law does not concern itself about trifles. The law does not concern itself about trifles, unimportant, trivialities, petty things. A delegated power cannot be delegated. That is, a delegated power cannot be conferred by the delegate upon someone else. A veiled gift, a gift under pretense of being something else. That's a veiled gift. A right of action cannot arise out of fraud. A right of action cannot arise out of fraud. That is, in our country, you see Muslim invaders and the Christian invaders, the colonizers, built many churches after destroying Hindu temples. And now they say it is their land. This is the Latin maxim. A right of action cannot arise out of fraud. Next, he confesses the crime who flees from trial. So, when you run away from the trial, it is a confession of the crime. So, we should be bold to face any trial. Incompetent courts exist. Sometimes the court is considered forum non competens. Incompetent court. Well, we can do that only which we can lawfully do. That's another legal maxim. Ignorance affords no excuse in reference to those things which one is bound to know. You are bound to know. If you don't know, consult a lawyer. Ignorance is never an excuse. In law, the immediate, not the remote cause of any event is regarded. In malified, that means malified intention, bad faith, deceitfully, dishonestly. For vindicating public right or public justice, in publicum vindicatum. A practice, custom or law which is still in full observance. A practice, custom or law which is still in full observance. No right arises from a wrongful act. Next, gross fault is held as equivalent to fraud. Gross fault is equal to fraud. In a more comprehensive sense, wider sense, law can be interpreted in a wider sense, in a more comprehensive sense. Then, what is superfluous, repugnant, incongruous, the law rejects. Law regards the order or course of nature. Bad or wrong in itself, some acts are bad or wrong in themselves. What is manifest needs no proof. प्रत्यक्ष को प्रमाण की जरूरत नहीं है. No one should be enriched out of the loss or damage sustained by another. No one can give what he has not got. One who has no title cannot confer a title. You cannot give what you don't have. The next legal maxim is no one is presumed to trifle or make sport at the point of death. The Latin phrase is nemo praesumiter ludere in extremis. Well, what this means is when a person is dying, whatever he says is taken as the truth. Why would a person on the verge of death tell lies or crack jokes and say something silly? So, no one is presumed to trifle or make sport at the point of death. The next maxim, he is not deceived who knows that he is being deceived. If you know that you are being deceived, then you are actually not being deceived because you have given consent to be deceived. That is the sad plight of Hindus today. After 70 years of independence, our temples are still being looted by the government of India. 80% of the hundi collection is taken away, whereas collections of mosques and churches are not touched by the government. Hindu cannot have a second wife. Bigamy, the punishment is 7 years. Muslim can have 4 wives. And you don't have a uniform civil code even now. Dr. Ambedkar wanted reservation for 10 years and it's going on till now. And if you go on listing out, the biggest landholder after the government of India is the church, the Christian church. When the population of Christians is a minority, mere minority, well, on paper at least they say it is some 3%. How can they be holding so much land? You will find huge churches where hardly any Christians exist. Where are they getting all these funds from? They are getting them from outside, and plus the government is doling out from our hundi collection in the Hindu temples. Now the list is unending. Any group of people can be considered a minority if they are less than 5% of the population. Muslims are touching 20% and still they are clamoring for minority rights, and our political parties are very busy appeasing everyone. So, and we Hindus are, it is not that we are not aware. We are fully aware, but we are not doing anything. Therefore, this maxim applies to us very well. He is not deceived who knows that he is being deceived. So either we stand up, fight and take our rights, or just shut up and take it. So let's not lament. Let's fight and take our rights. Next maxim is a new law ought to be prospective, not retrospective in its operations. Prospective means connected with the future, pertaining to the future. Retrospective is pertaining to the past. So a new law ought to be prospective, not retrospective in its operations. But this has been violated in our country with regards to Article 370, which has fortunately been kicked out now. Otherwise, it had many retrospective applications. Anyway, let's leave that. A retrospective application means today you pass a law that doing A is a crime. You cannot arrest somebody who committed A yesterday. Right? Okay, let's move forward. These are legal maxims which every one of us should know. We are not going too deep into law here. No man can take advantage of his own wrong. Not cohabitation, but consent makes marriage. Obiter dictum means an opinion given incidentally. A judge might do that, or in a meeting somebody might do that. An opinion given incidentally. Obiter dictum. On account of a dishonorable cause or immoral consideration. So something gets nullified when that is the case. Every act is to be judged by the intention of the doer. Intention is important. All things are presumed to have been done according to law until the contrary is proved. Every innovation occasions more harm by its novelty than benefit by its utility. Slightly cynical. A subsequent ratification has retrospective effect and is equivalent to a prior command. Now the word ratification, ratify means written permission, official permission, written. So when we are working in a management capacity, often we have to take decisions on the spot. So when you do something as an agent of an organization, you have taken a decision on the spot without taking the permission of your boss, you can still go back and get it ratified. That means after the action is done, you are getting the approval of the boss, your own boss. So a subsequent ratification has a retrospective effect and is equivalent to a prior command. So remember this wherever you are working. So this will help you. You have to take it in writing, and the boss can give his ratification. Subsequently after the act, but still it has retrospective effect in law. By force of exception. Next one. An exception is a kind of defense. Please understand. An exception is also a kind of defense. That's why it's called by force of exception. Custom or usage is the best interpreter of law. Arbitrary punishments. Arbitrary punishments are definitely not acceptable. Prior possession with a subsequent title is better than prior title without possession. Please understand, if you have land, property, possession is very important. According to the gravity of the offense, punishments have to be decided. According to the gravity of the offense. The necessity of proving lies on him who sues. The necessity of proving lies on him who sues. Things invalid from the beginning cannot be made better or valid by subsequent acts. A very useful one, remember this. Things invalid from the beginning cannot be made better or valid by subsequent acts. When one does a thing through the instrumentality of another, he is held as having done it himself. If when one does a thing through the instrumentality of another, he is held as having done it himself. He who considers merely the letter of an instrument goes only skin deep into its meaning. So the letter of the law, the spirit of the law, these two are equally important. A child in the womb that is yet unborn is held as already born in any question which may arise touching its rights or interest. He who uses his own rights does wrong to no one. He who does not prevent or prohibit that which he can is regarded as assenting. Again, a repetition is, he who does an act through another is deemed in law to have done it himself. He who derives the advantage ought to sustain the burden too. Let him be deceived who wishes or is willing to be deceived. What is clear to the court does not need the aid of witnesses. The thing speaks for itself. Res ipsa loquitur. The thing speaks for itself. Means something so obvious that further explanation is not necessary. This is important. Regard for public welfare is the highest law. Salus populi est suprema lex. Regard for public welfare is the highest law. Next, enjoy your own property in such a manner as not to injure that of another person. The best rule is that which advances religion. Well, I think this is debatable anyway. Summa ratio est quae pro religioni facit. Obviously an outdated Christian dogma. Testimonies are to be weighed, not numbered. There is no wrong without a remedy. There is no wrong without a remedy. Ultra vires is a word which means beyond the power, in excess of authority. Ultra vires. Truth in the name takes away or destroys the effect of error in description. Truth in the name takes away the error in description. And finally, a very, very important one, the laws assist those who are vigilant, not those who sleep over their rights. The laws assist those who are vigilant, not those who sleep over their rights. I hope this small discussion on legal maxims makes a useful contribution to our lives. Jai Shri Ram.